This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on Carvana. Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
EVO.
If you or someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or a crisis, please reach out immediately to the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255 or text the word HOME to the crisis text line at 741-741. These services are free and confidential. This series contains adult language and depictions of graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, Jeff, what was the first pair of sneakers you had when you were a kid?
Pretty much these, the ones I'm wearing right now. I was always a Converse kid.
Did you wear high tops or low tops?
In those days, high tops. White. I had white high tops.
And these ones you're wearing now are actually Converse low top black ones. Don't they hurt your feet?
Yeah, actually they do, but if you put arch supports in them, they're fine. I think the ones I have are Dr. Scholl's.
Sponsorship.
Dr. Scholl's inserts. They're like walking on clouds.
How many pairs of sneakers do you think you had when you were a kid?
I don't think I remember ever having more than one pair at a time. Did you?
No, I think I had like one or two pair. I was wearing Pro Keds when I was a kid.
Oh, Ked's kid.
Yeah, I had high tops with little stripes on the side. I still have a pair.
I never had you pegged as the Keds type. God, you think you know a guy.
Go in my closet. No,
no thanks.
So could you imagine owning 100 pairs of sneakers?
Oh, no.
Did you ever think sneakers would become collectibles?
Well, sort of. I mean, when we were kids, you know, I'm a little older than you.
Not that much.
Well, anyway, there were already basketball players in particular who were endorsing actually the kinds of sneakers we wore. They were just endorsements, but if you think back about the progression, there's no logical connection between, you know, Bob Cousy endorsing PF Flyers in the 50s, say, and that ridiculous deal that Nike did with Jordan in the 80s.
Yeah, Jordan and Nike kind of cornered the market.
Yeah.
I mean, the Air Jordans that he wore in games go for over $1 million.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I read online that Nike Air Jordans sell for more money than any other basketball sneaker.
Yeah, and it's mostly Jordans. It's incredible. But I think now's the time to tell everyone why we're actually talking about sneakers.
Well, we're not talking about just any sneakers now, are we?
Oh, hell no. We're talking about the Nike Decade. It was never endorsed by a celebrity, never worn by an athlete, and anyone could walk into any store and buy a pair for $70. Completely unremarkable.
Except for one thing. They're the only sneakers associated with the worst mass suicide in American history. Hi, I'm Bruce.
And I'm Jeff. Welcome to Taboo Treasures, a weekly podcast that explores the human obsession with gathering and collecting not just objects of value, but objects of extreme rarity and infamy.
Today's episode, Heavenly Sneakers.
This is the Tri-State Area's news leader, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
San Diego Sheriff's deputies stumble into a house of death, a multi-million-dollar mansion filled with dozens of bodies, the site of a grim mass suicide.
Good evening. We are just learning the scope of the tragedy in San Diego, and this is the latest. Police tell reporters 39 people are dead, all males between the ages of 18 and 24. The rented mansion with pool and tennis court is in the estate area of Rancho Santa Fe, an elite suburb of San Diego.
What you just heard was part of the original Eyewitness News broadcast from March 26, 1997, reporting the mass suicide of 39 members of the Heaven's Gate cult in San Diego.
I totally remember seeing that on TV, seeing those bunk beds. But what really stood out to me was seeing the sneakers underneath the sheets that had the white Nike swoosh on them.
Yeah, that's the iconic image I think that most people remember. The leader was a guy named Marshall Applewhite, who was a religious fanatic accused of, what? Improper behavior with choir boys.
No, really?
Yeah, no, I know. It never happened before.
Never happened before in history.
No, in the history of religion.
Or choir boys.
Choir boys. Anyway, over the years, this guy kind of knocked around as a musician. He was an actor in New York.
Wait. Are you giving musicians a bad name, or was he giving actors and musicians a bad name?
I think both of us.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he did a bunch of stuff. He was a professor's assistant, taught music in Houston, and so on. The big question is, how does this guy get 38 people to kill themselves?
Well, glad you asked, Jeff. It all started with a comet called the Hale-Bopp, named after the guys who first observed it in 1995, Alan Hale and Thomas Bopp. It was much bigger than the comet that killed the dinosaurs and 6 times bigger than Halley's Comet.
Yeah, it was huge. It was 37 miles in diameter, and it was traveling at 100,000 miles per hour.
So Hale-Bopp was going to appear again at its brightest in 1997, and it wouldn't be visible again for 2,300 years. So Applewhite convinced his followers that the Hale-Bopp wasn't a comet, but actually an alien spacecraft that would transport them to their new home on a new world, or what most people would call heaven.
And hence the name Heaven's Gate.
Let's let the man explain it himself.
I'll tell you who I am. As to whether or not you believe who I am or not is up to you. I'm from kingdom level above human. And if you want to go there, then you have to follow me, because I'm the guy who's got the key at the moment. And it requires that if you move into that evolutionary kingdom, that you leave behind everything of human ways, human behavior, human ignorance, human misinformation. Now, breaking away from the world is not easy. It's difficult. It's tough. It means that you leave that world behind. You even become another individual. It means that even the mind that you had as a human is aborted, and the soul that was given to you is filled with next level information, next level mind, and a new creature is born, an eternal body. This is your chance. I'm here. I can take you out of here. I can lead you into that kingdom level above human. That can't happen unless you leave the human world that you're in and come and follow me.
That was an excerpt from a video Applewhite made himself. It's not exactly every day you plan the simultaneous suicide of 39 people. So in the weeks leading up to it, he knew he'd have to come up with a little checklist.
Well, of course he did. What was number 1?
Convince 38 people to commit suicide.
Number 2.
Figure out how to kill 38 people.
And most importantly, number 3. What should we wear? Well, first of all, he had to convince his followers that in order to get a ride on the comet,
spaceship. Yeah.
Spaceship, of course, you had to first leave your container, which is what he called their earthly bodies. Once he did that, he had to figure out how everyone would die. His solution was a shitload of phenobarbital and 39 black plastic bags. Once that was out of the way, last but not least, was the wardrobe.
It was important to Applewhite to show his new alien friends that he and his people were worthy, and he thought a good way to do that would be to make everyone look the same in perfectly matching uniforms. So he kept it simple and timeless: black T-shirts, black sweatpants, But my favorite thing, and you just can't make this shit up, he had them all in armbands that said Heaven's Gate away team.
Wonder what those would be worth.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Well, what about the shoes? That's what we're talking about here.
Yep.
So we went to his local Walmart and found 39 matching pairs of the Nike Decade, a low-cost running shoe that was popular in the mid-80s.
39 pairs? 39. He went, how did he know what sizes to get?
I mean, did he go to his followers and ask them what size they were? He must have.
Yeah, but I mean, so he gets to Walmart. What are the chances they had 39 exact sizes in stock?
Probably no way. And if he didn't get the right size, they might have had some uncomfortable feet going on there.
You wouldn't want your feet to be uncomfortable before you went to heaven.
No.
Maybe he just got a bunch of Dr. Scholl's just in case.
Sponsorship.
Dr. Scholl's inserts. They're like walking on clouds.
So once he got everybody's size right or made them wear shoes that didn't fit, he went to Walmart and found the all-black version with the iconic Nike swoosh in white. This simple decision cemented a random and everyday pair of sneakers into a place in resale history.
So on March 26th, all the cult members put on what he called their departure uniforms, laced up their new Nikes, and settled in for their afternoon snacks. Some of them had applesauce, some of them had pudding, but all of them had an ungodly amount of phenobarbital mixed in.
Yummy.
Oh, yeah.
I would have went with pudding myself.
Yeah, I'm with you. So with the black plastic bags over their heads, they all laid down on their assigned bunks and passed out, fully believing what Applewhite had told them. They were going to awaken to their eternal reward upon an alien craft, traveling across the cosmos to their new home in heaven.
And Nike lost their shit. They say there's no such thing as bad press, but how do you think Nike felt back then when they saw their swoosh sticking out from under the sheets of the dead cult members? They released one of those typical thoughts and prayers things and followed it up with a corporate disclaimer telling the world they were not associated with the cult.
Yeah, in other words, they panicked. They immediately stopped making the Decade, and they tried to get their hands on every pair out there. They told vendors all over the world to return them to Nike for disposal, but of course it all backfired on them because all they managed to do was make the Decade one of the rarest, definitely the most infamous shoe on every sneakerhead's wish list.
So Nike got them all, except for the 39 pairs from the feet of the dead Heaven's Gate cult members.
Usually when we think of cults, we think of drugs and sex, but not so for the Heaven's Gate cult. Not only were drugs and alcohol banned, at least until they became ingredients in their suicide cocktails, but sex was so forbidden that 8 members actually volunteered to be castrated.
Ouch. So cults have been around since the beginning of time, but it wasn't until the 20th century and the mid-60s, to be precise, that the word cult as we know it became part of the American lexicon. The first modern-day cult is widely considered to be the Family International cult, and sometimes known as the Children of God.
The family claims to have about 3,000 members around the world, and many of them used to use drugs regularly, but now they say they're turned on by Jesus. However, their critics have accused them of being secretive and sinister, of turning young people against their parents, society, and the church, and of brainwashing youngsters into handing over their money and possessions to the movement.
There doesn't seem to be a consensus on where it was founded, but depending on who you ask, it's anywhere from Waco, Texas, to Huntington Beach, California.
Family International was the OG American sex cult. Instead of the usual fear and manipulation tactics, it attracted members basically by fucking them.
That's like some really pretty solid marketing.
Yeah, right.
I would join up.
They're also known, they were pretty noble. They took a stand against child abuse.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, in 1986.
Wait.
Yeah, 18 years after they started abusing children. You know, the children of God.
It was about time, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
So on one hand, they were ahead of their time in promoting bisexuality for women. On the other hand, it was only if there was a guy in the room with them. Wow. Also, during sex or masturbation, the women were encouraged to imagine the man or woman they were with was, of course, Donald Trump. I mean, Jesus.
Well, which is something Jesus would definitely have said if he thought of it.
Oh, God. The solution for the men was brilliant in its simplicity. While they were having sex, all they had to do was imagine that they were a woman who was being fucked by the Lord.
At least they didn't have to kill themselves.
Yeah, that's true. But 1968 wasn't all peace, love, and jerking off to Jesus. One of the most infamous cults in American history was founded by, once again, a failed musician.
Oh, yeah, man. We're being pretty tough on musicians today.
Yeah, at least he wasn't an actor.
And plus, they deserve it.
His leader and his whole family moved into Dennis Wilson's house. Dennis Wilson was the drummer for the Beach Boys. And during this same period, probably doing a lot of drugs, the leader became friends with Neil Young, who later described him as brilliant.
Eventually, this leader and his cult found a home at the Spawn Movie Ranch on the outskirts of L.A. If that sounds familiar, it's because the ranch was infamously known as the home of Charles Manson and the Manson family cult. Quentin Tarantino recently brought the ranch back into the zeitgeist with a reimagined version of it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Also in 1968, the Beatles released the one and only White Album. And the track Helter Skelter, Manson was so fascinated with it that he wrote his own version called Something Called Helter Skelter Would Set Off a Battle.
Wait, we have to be clear here. The title of the song wasn't Helter Skelter Would Set Off a Battle.
No. The title of the song was, quote, Something Called Helter Skelter Would Set Off a Battle, end quote.
So catchy. Well, his obsession with that track is pretty well known, but something that somehow managed to be left out of the Manson lore is that he actually wrote a song for the Beach Boys. It was called Cease to Exist.
So because of his relationship with Dennis Wilson, somehow he got the Beach Boys to actually record a version of this song. They reworked the lyrics and released it as a song called Never Learn to Love on their 1968 2020 album. We can't play either of these recordings because we can't afford what, Jeff?
Lawyers.
Or to license them, really,
or anything, because we have no money.
Right. But we encourage you to listen to these two songs back to back on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen to music. Keep in mind, the title of Manson's song was called Cease to Exist. Pay close attention to the version recorded by the Beach Boys.
They changed the music quite a bit, and Manson wasn't bothered by that at all, but he wanted to kill Dennis because he altered the lyrics of all except for the first line. Manson wasn't even credited.
What followed soon was one of the most horrific and memorable moments in the history of American crimes, the Tate LaBianca murders in 1969.
In a scene described by one investigator as reminiscent of a weird religious rite, 5 persons, including actress Sharon Tate, were found dead at the home of Miss Tate and her husband, screen director Roman Polanski. Miss Tate was 8 months pregnant and was found with a rope around her neck attached to the body of a man. Among the other victims were Hollywood hairstylist Jay Sebring and coffee heiress Abigail Folger.
The owner of a small supermarket chain found in his home his head covered by a white hood, a meat fork stuck in his chest. His wife, 38-year-old Mrs. Lino LaBianca, found in the bedroom dead, her back brutally cut by a whip. On the refrigerator door in the home, smeared in blood, were the words, "Death to pigs."
Manson got credit for that one.
Do you remember the Heaven's Gate cult, or do you know anyone who's ever been in a cult?
We'd love to hear from you, so please email us at tabootreasures@evocreative.com or message us at Taboo Treasures on Instagram and TikTok.
But Manson was a tourist compared to our next contestant.
How very much I've loved you. How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace.
This episode is brought to you by Liquid IV. When you hydrate with Liquid IV, you're powered by Hydroscience. Hydroscience is Liquid IV's science-backed formula with an optimized ratio of electrolytes, vitamins, and nutrients. Experience great-tasting hydration for mental clarity, physical endurance, and overall well-being. Sip into something that up-levels every moment. Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Visit us at liquidiv.com.
Get your mother-loving ears on because your big-time radio DJ's got news. PayPal lets you choose how you want to pay for all the stuff. With PayPal, I can pay in-store, pay online, or pay over time. What's that? You want this translated into song? I hope you're sitting down. You can pay your own way. You keep those ears on, you hear? Don't just pay, baby. PayPal.
Learn more at paypal.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon's Blink Video Doorbell. Get more at your door with the easy-to-install Blink Video Doorbell. Get more connections.
Hey, I'm here for our first date.
More deliveries.
Hi, I have tacos for two.
Oh, thanks. We'll be right down. And more memories.
Babe, come down. I have a surprise.
All new Blink Video Doorbell with 2-year battery, head-to-toe HD view, and simple setup. Shop now at amazon.com/blink for just $69.99.
We see you getting after your fitness goals. But what about those money goals? You can count on Credit Karma for a clear view of your finances and your progress, helping you see results so you can keep checking off those financial personal bests and find your way to money. Progress never felt so good. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on. Download the app today.
What's going to happen here in a matter of a few minutes is that one of those people on that plane is going to shoot the pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle. And we had better not have any of our children left when it's over. Take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act.
Jim Jones founded the People's Temple in 1955. He moved the cult around some, stopping for a time in California, where he did a little faith healing and other stuff. In 1964, he was ordained a minister of the Disciples of Christ. The Disciples of Christ were actually a mainstream Protestant institution.
Yeah, that should tell you something about mainstream Protestant institutions.
In the grand tradition of cults, his control over his followers extended to their sex lives, and even who could marry who. He forced some of the women and girls to have sex with him, and he also raped several male members.
In 73, he was arrested. You just can't make this shit up. He was charged with lewd conduct for masturbating in the presence of a male undercover LAPD vice officer in a movie theater.
Of course he did. I wonder what movie they were watching.
Oh, my God.
And why was the vice officer there?
Was he working, or was it a coincidence?
Who knows?
But the charges were eventually dropped, presumably because he was pretending to be a woman jerking off to Jesus. But by the mid-70s, he was getting some press that brought a lot of legal heat down on the cult. So he took them to some land he'd purchased in Guyana, a small country in South America. And this is where it stops being funny.
A California congressman named Leo Ryan had gotten wind of what was happening to the U.S. citizens down there and took a delegation to investigate. Jones and some of his followers killed him and 4 others of his delegation on a remote jungle airstrip.
The whole world remembers what happened next. 900 men, women, and most tragically children died in a mass murder/suicide by drinking cyanide mixed into Kool-Aid.
And that's where the phrase, drinking the Kool-Aid, comes from.
We just talked about 4 cults that all have one thing in common. They either started in L.A. or ended up there at some point.
But this one cult wasn't founded in L.A., but had connections to Hollywood. You might have seen the HBO documentary The Vow, which is the story of the most recent cult we want to talk about, NXIVM, and its founder, Keith Raniere, who insisted on being called Vanguard.
We begin with breaking news in a celebrity sex cult trial. The alleged ringleader just convicted.
Prosecutors say Keith Raniere was a master manipulator who ruined marriages, careers, fortunes, and lives.
After the 7-week trial, it took the jury less than 5 hours to find Keith Raniere guilty on all counts. His victims and their families say this is the day their nightmare finally ended.
In 1996, Raniere...
Vanguard.
Right, Vanguard. Vanguard created a pyramid scheme called Consumers Byline. After that one collapsed in 96, he founded another pyramid scheme in the guise of a self-help organization that sold memberships. That's the one he called NXIVM.
Within NXIVM, he started something called ESP, which stood for Executive Success Programs. That gave birth to a bunch of other subgroups over time. One was a men's-only group called the Society of Protectors. The other one was a women's group called JNES.
But the most notorious and secretive offshoot was called DOS. DOS was an acronym for Dominus Obsequious Sororium.
Easy for you to say.
Which roughly translates to Lord over the obedient female companions.
I know what that one means.
Within DOS, women were starved and branded with Rainier's initials. And of course, the women were his sex slaves, but eventually this was the group that ended up bringing down the entire organization in 2017. A combination of bad press, shrinking membership, and lawsuits forced Rainier and a small group of his most devoted followers to move to Mexico.
But finally, in February of 2018, the feds issued a complaint requesting a warrant for his arrest. Of course, he pleaded not guilty, but in 2019 was convicted of all counts against him: racketeering, sex trafficking, forced labor conspiracy, and wire fraud conspiracy. He was sentenced to 120 years after 15 former NXIVM members, including India Oxenberg, testified against him.
India had been terribly brainwashed over 7 or 8 years, and she was actually the first woman to be branded. You might remember her as the daughter of Catherine Oxenberg. Catherine was the star of Dynasty, one of the big nighttime soaps in the 80s.
Why do you remember that?
No reason.
Catherine, she fought hard for India. She was the first to expose the cult to the media and was eventually instrumental in getting the FBI involved.
Actress Catherine Oxenberg relished in the verdict outside federal court in Brooklyn Wednesday.
Today, I would say, was the end of a hellish nightmare.
Oxenberg's daughter was one of Rainieri's victims.
She just found out. She's in shock. I mean, I'm in shock as well. She, like all the other young women who have suffered at the hands of this monster, Keith Raniere, no one's unscathed, but she's not broken. I had to save a child who was caught in the grips of this cult. So I wasn't going to stop until I had succeeded.
Don't fuck with moms.
Yeah, don't fuck with moms.
We started our podcast with sneakers, so we're going to end with them. Sneakers have been around since the late 19th century in one form or another, but most sneaker historians, which is actually a thing, consider the first real sneakers to have shown up around the turn of the 20th century. Sneakers sounds like a strange name for a shoe, but it turns out to be actually pretty logical. According to popular lore, they were first called sneakers because school kids who wore them could sneak up on their teachers.
Did you ever sneak up on your teacher?
No, not as far as anyone knows.
So the guy who holds the Guinness World Record for number of sneakers in a collection is Jordan Geller. He's since sold off some of them, but at its height, he had almost 2,500 pairs. The total value was $100 million.
Jesus.
It's an average value of $40,000 a pair, which is crazy. But the most expensive pair in his collection were Air Jordans, worn by Jordan himself in Game 2 of the 1998 NBA Finals. What do you think they got for him?
Well, I know because we did the research together. Yeah. Why don't you tell her?
So, audience, what do you think they got for him? $2.2 million.
For a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, crazy. After the Jordan deal in '84, Run DMC was the first celebrity non-athletes to endorse a sneaker. They were called My Adidas, or Adidas as the English would say. Released in '86, they were pretty plain by today's standard. Simple white with black details and the name of the group on the tongue.
Between the Jordan and Run DMC deals, Gucci released the first ever sneaker by a luxury brand. Not that you're ever going to see LeBron or Steph Curry playing in Louis, but luxury brands have gotten huge.
Kanye West and Adidas had a collaboration with Yeezy. Yeezy?
Yeezy. You always do that.
Sorry.
Yeezy.
But Adidas killed the deal in 2022 after West went on another one of his anti-Semitic rants. Along with the usual paranoid delusions and praise of Hitler, he said, going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. So Adidas went DEFCON 3 on Yee, or Ye, or
Yeah,
Yeezy. Pulling all the sneakers and issuing the usual disclaimer, distancing themselves from all the anti-Semitism. And then, to the surprise of no one, went back on their noble crap and started selling some of the inventory starting this year, including the Yeezy, including the Yeezy tactical boot, whatever the fuck that is.
I don't know. I kind of like to have a pair of Yeezy tactical boots, whatever.
Well, I gave you a tactical wallet for your birthday.
I know, it almost broke my fingers.
It tactically went into your desk drawer.
Yeah.
You can get tactical sweatpants now.
And you can get a tactical hoodie.
Yes.
That they say is the first hoodie you can actually go outside. Anyway, the most recent sneakers to grab our culture by the throat and try to shake it to death are, of course, the instant classic Trump Never Surrender high tops and their lesser known but equally hilarious / nauseating little brothers, the Victory Edition. Anyway, we're not going to spend any time on this, but when you Google these things, and please do, check out the First Lady line.
Now we're going to go down the list of the top 10 most expensive sneakers ever sold.
Coming in at number 10, the Nike Moon Shoe, which was released in 1972. It was known for its revolutionary waffle sole running shoe design, and there were only 12 made. In 2013, they sold for $437,500.
Number 9, 1985 game-worn Air Jordan 1 Chicagos are among the most iconic sneakers in history. Jordan signed them after he wore them in a game in 1985, and they sold for $560,000 in 2020.
Number 8 are kind of the most interesting ones to me. They're called Glass Shard Air Jordan 1s. Jordan wore this pair in an exhibition game, and I guess he shattered the board with a slam dunk, and the sneakers have a shard of broken glass that's still embedded in them. And they sold for $615,000 in 2020.
Number 7 are the Air Jordan Retro Kobe Pack. So in 2016, the Air Jordan 3/8 Retro Kobe Pack was designed as a tribute to Kobe Bryant and were made to celebrate Kobe Bryant's 20 glorious years in the NBA. Only Kobe's family and friends got them, and they're worth only $800,000.
Which really does seem low for something so...
Doesn't seem to be many of them, you know.
They're just made for the family. Right?
Yeah, and I'm sure the family's not going to sell them.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where they get that price, but that would seem...
Yeah.
Like... Well, anyway, coming in at number 6, the Michael Jordan game-worn Nike Airship. This is the all-time most expensive game-worn shoe ever sold at auction. In October of 2021, a collector named Nick Fiorella paid $1,472,000 for this pair of airships at Sotheby's, Las Vegas.
Number 5 are the game-worn Flu Game Air Jordan 12s. Kind of self-explanatory.
I guess he had the flu?
I kind of remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
They first sold in 2013 for $104,000. To give you an idea of how the collectible sneaker market has blown up, only 10 years later in 2023, they sold for $1.38 million.
I wonder what my sneakers are worth. Number 4, the Kanye West Air Yeezy 1 prototype. Years before he went DEFCON 3 on his own Adidas deal, he and Nike released the Nike Air Yeezy 1 prototype. It was the first collaboration between Nike and a non-athlete, and it was a breakthrough for both Nike and the sneaker world. Because it was a prototype, there was only one pair, and he wore them on the Grammys in 2008. They sold for $1.8 million.
Number 3 are solid gold Air Jordans. Drake did a sneaker collab with Kanye West and Jordan and decided to make them gold, solid gold, 24 karat to be precise. At $2 million, they were the most expensive new Nike shoe in the world. But you probably won't be doing much jumping in them because they weigh more than 50 pounds. So it's just a lump of fucking gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50 pounds each.
Yeah.
So they're basically
like
wearing
100 pounds of gold. Oh, man. Why don't you just make a 100-pound lump of gold?
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, with laces. 2 is the Bread Air Jordan 13. That's B-R-E-D. Bread Air Jordan 13. So what could possibly be more valuable than a pair of solid gold Jordans, you may ask? It's the pair Michael Jordan wore in Game 2 of the 1998 NBA Finals, which the Chicago Bulls won. It was his 6th championship and his final season with the Bulls, and the sneakers went for $2.2 million.
Number 1 on our list is the Dynasty Collection. It's a collection of 6 Air Jordan sneakers, each worn by Jordan during the clinching games of his 6 NBA championships. Each one symbolizes a pivotal moment in Jordan's career, adding a layer of historical significance and exclusivity. So, Jeff, those are the most expensive and collectible sneakers in the world, and all of them are Nike. So what would a pair of 97 Decades, the model worn by the Heaven Gates cult, go for?
Well, believe it or not, they're around. You can go online and find them almost anywhere from, it depends on the conditions. Actually, some brand new. Those are the more expensive ones. But you can get them for anywhere between about $1,300 and $4,000, depending on the condition.
Yeah, I've seen some that are like a few $100, but that's not from the year of 1997.
Right.
What about the actual ones worn by the Suicide Cult?
Would those be considered
game worn? Yes.
I don't know.
No disrespect. We're just got to make fun of horrible shit.
It's really funny. Yeah. I don't. I mean, who knows? I can't imagine what they'd be worth. I guess wouldn't they be kind of priceless?
Yeah, they'd have to be priceless. I mean, we both looked around to try and find where they might be, and what you found they might. Evidence or something?
Well, I tried to track down where they might have been held as evidence, but nobody's really sure. Some people say they'd have been destroyed. Some people say they would have, been saved somewhere, or somebody could have even made off with the things. We just don't know.
I mean, if anybody has any idea where one of these game-worn cult sneakers.
We're so going to hell.
Cult sneakers are at. Please email us at tabootreasures@evocreative.com or message us at Taboo Treasures on Instagram and TikTok. So that does it for our first episode of...
Possibly the last episode.
Our first episode of Taboo Treasures podcast.
Thanks for listening. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more weirdos like you can find the show.
And also follow us for weekly episodes when we talk about Barbie and Hitler.
And Catcher in the Rye and the things that murderers collect.
See you next week. Bye-bye. From EVO, Taboo Treasures is produced by Bruce Whitkin and Jeff Levine. Executive producer Brandon Morgan. Music by the Lonely Bulls.